All right, let's talk about the invisible forces that shape our digital lives. We're going to take a 30,000-foot view of user experience. The hidden architecture behind every single click, tap, and swipe we make every single day. I mean, think about it for a second. You download a new app. Sometimes it just works. It's intuitive, it's effortless, it's almost like it's reading your mind. And then other times, it's a clunky, frustrating mess that makes you want to tear your hair out. Why is that? What is the secret ingredient that separates the magical from the just plain miserable?
Well, the answer is user experience, or UX for short. And let's get one thing straight right from the get-go. This is not just about making things look pretty with cool fonts and trendy colors. That's just the tip of the iceberg. True UX, it goes so much deeper than that. At its heart, UX is really about making technology more humane. It's a fundamental shift in thinking. So instead of forcing us, the users, to learn all the weird quirks of a machine, UX completely flips the script. It demands that the machine learns and adapts to the needs of the human. Jeff Raskin, who was one of the key minds behind the original Macintosh, he just captured this perfectly. The ultimate goal is intuition. Great technology shouldn't need some thick instruction manual. The design itself is the manual. It should just make sense. So let's clear up a really common point of confusion. People often mix up usability and user experience. Usability, that's a technical component. Can you complete your task efficiently? Does the button actually work when you click it? But user experience, that's the whole picture. It's psychological. It asks a much bigger question. How did that entire journey feel? To really wrap our heads around what makes an experience great, we can actually break it down into 3 core pillars. I like to think of these as the foundational legs of a stool that supports any well-designed piece of technology. So, the first pillar is usability, which we just touched on. This is the absolute bedrock. It's the simple question. Does it work? Because look, if people can't actually use the product to achieve their goal, then all the fancy designs and clever features in the world are completely worthless. This is the functional, mechanical heart of the experience. Now, what's really fascinating about this is that these ideas aren't new at all. The team behind the Xerox Star, a truly visionary computer from way back in the 70s, they laid out these principles decades ago. Things like consistency, simplicity, making things feel familiar, these are timeless truths of good design that are just as revolutionary today. So once something is usable, the next logical question is, who is it usable for? And this brings us to our second pillar, accessibility. Here, we have to expand our definition of the user beyond some idealized average person. It's all about ensuring technology works for everyone, no matter their abilities or their circumstances. And this is just a brilliant illustration that accessibility isn't always what you might think. This quote from a cyclist trying to use their phone on a bike, it highlights something called situational impairment. You're not permanently disabled, but in that specific moment, your situation, juggling a bike, dealing with traffic, creates a temporary barrier. So the crucial takeaway here is that good designers have to think about a whole spectrum of barriers, from permanent physical or cognitive impairments to those situational ones like our cyclist, and even the combination of minor impairments that can come with aging. Great UX truly leaves no one behind. Okay, so a product can be usable and accessible, but that only gets us so far. The third, and maybe the most human, pillar is affect. This is the emotional layer. Beyond pure function, does the experience actually bring you any joy? Is it pleasing to look at? Does it simply feel good to use? And listen, this isn't just fluff. There's real science behind this. Studies have shown that when we find an interface aesthetically pleasing, our brains literally work better. We become more creative, problem solvers, and get this, we're even more forgiving if we happen to run into a small glitch. Beauty actually makes things work better. All right, so we've got the 3 pillars, usability, accessibility, and affect. But how did designers actually build these qualities into a product? Let's take a quick look at the process that turns a simple idea into a polished, working interface. So the first thing to know is that the process isn't a straight line. It's a cycle of continuous improvement. The core idea is to embrace failure, but to fail early and fail cheaply. You start by discovering the user's world. Then you design a potential solution. And, crucially, you test that design with real people before you invest too much time or money. And what you learn from that testing, it feeds right back into the next discovery phase. It's this constant loop of learning and refining. In that first discover stage, the main goal is empathy.
Designers will literally go out and talk to people, watch them work, and just try to understand their world. From all this research, they create these fictional characters called personas that represent their key users. These personas become a kind of North Star for every decision the team makes, constantly reminding them who they're actually building this for. Once they understand the user, the design stage kicks off, and not with fancy software, but usually with just a pen and paper. This is a low-fidelity wireframe, and the magic of a simple sketch like this is that no one's afraid to criticize it. It invites feedback, it encourages collaboration, and it's designed to be fast, cheap, and really easy to just throw away if the idea isn't working out. As those ideas get refined, they start to evolve into what's called a high-fidelity mockup. This is where the vision starts to feel real. You've got colors, spacing, typography, but it's still an illusion, basically a highly detailed, clickable painting of an app. And that's its power. You can test the entire feel of a product before a single line of code gets written and commits you to a specific path. And finally, the test stage. This is where that fail early mantra really pays off. It's where all your assumptions meet cold, hard reality. By watching a real person interact with the design, you might discover that a button is confusing or a workflow is clunky. And you find this out in a matter of hours, not after a 6-month development cycle when it's too late. Okay, so we've seen the theory and we've seen the process. But why go through all this trouble? Why does any of this matter beyond the bottom line? Well, the real impact of good UX is so much bigger than just selling products. Good UX is fundamentally an act of respect. It respects your time by not wasting it. It respects your abilities by being inclusive. And it respects your emotions by trying to create a positive, enjoyable experience instead of a frustrating one. In a way, it's a form of care. This idea, this dedication to care and quality, it's not new. It's actually at the very heart of the classic book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And while on the surface it seems to be about a road trip, it's really a deep philosophical dive into one central question: what is quality? That search for quality is the exact same journey a UX designer is on. Quality isn't just another item on a feature list. It's an ethos. It's the craft of motorcycle maintenance. It's the commitment to understanding a system deeply and making it right, not just for function, but for the soul. So I'll just leave you with this thought. The next time you use a piece of technology, look a little closer. Look past the buttons and the screen and just ask yourself, what if the quality you feel in that experience, what if it isn't just code, but a reflection of the care one human put into it for another?